Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. My name is Jed and we are reading the Philosophical Midwifery book. To understand the nature of human problems, why do we have the problems we have? Why are we not able to get out of them? Even if we are doing our best, especially when it's something that is the most meaningful or beautiful goals that we have, why is it that we get stuck in repeating cycles of failure and seemingly immune from any evidence or reasoning, even from people we love and care about, showing the opposite? Why are we not able to respond to reason and evidence that shows that there are certain beliefs that we are carrying about ourselves in the world that are false? Why are we stuck? And in asking that, we are also awakening a deeper question: why are we here? Why are we here only to pick up a class of belief called the pathologos, a false belief about ourselves and the world and our place in it, and of course the nature of beauty and justice? Why are we here just to get that? Seems silly, seems even cruel. Boo, thumbs down. No, wait. Boo, there we go. Well, as we read earlier in the book, if the only way out of our problems is through a reasoned reflection on the things that block us from our most meaningful goals, and that can only happen through time, maybe we missed an opportunity to participate in a higher level of mind that our soul or ourselves were in prior to our coming here. Meaning our problems give us the very opportunity, conditions, and causes for us to learn what limited us from participating in whatever it was we were participating in prior to our birth. In other words, it is entirely possible to verify for ourselves we live in a caring and intelligible universe, and that verification is a kind of proof, since it's based on a way of understanding that allows us to confirm for ourselves in our own direct experience that we live in a reality that is I forget the rest of the quote. I was trying to remember the beginning of chapter 2. That mind is all pervasive, and while it's profound, its precision is precisely directed to what will most personally benefit you at all moments. What the heck does that mean? Well, if there is a way of getting out of our problems, and it requires us learning a kind of understanding, and that understanding is beneficial and even necessary for our soul's development, then there's a way of looking at the problems we face to see that there is a justice and a profound benefit in us being here in a world completely engrossed in problems, irrationality, immaturity, injustice, inequality. That's almost impossible to see until we learn how to look. That's what we're doing here. We're learning how to look at the world in a way that allows us to see that there might be a kind of justice beyond the appearance of injustice that we face day to day. Specifically, the problems we have are given to us in order for us to learn the significance of reflecting on ourselves in a certain way that will allow us to become free of those problems and free of any false image of yourself that you may be carrying that you are even unaware of. that way of reflecting is the dialectic. Another way of saying that is following the logos. Some people ask me, what is the logos? And I say, that's a good question. You figure it out and tell me. I've been wondering about that for a long time, but basically it's the intelligible structure, order of reality. Now, it is rational, but rationality is the shadow of the logos. Because it's not just rational. It's the understandability and knowability specifically of all of reality itself. What the heck are we talking about? We live in an understandable world. And it's through the development of understanding that we can progress through the different dimensions of that world to understand and know reality itself, and use that to reflect on what it is that is experiencing that understanding and knowing. So, in our previous episode, we were reading the Meno, and we had a fantastic welcome in chat. Sorry, I forgot to say hi to chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. That's my cough button. Still a little bit under the weather. And for me, it's Monday morning. End of the weekend, which means I've been playing music a lot. And yeah, so I'm exhausted, but that's okay. I have a coffee. And it's hot. I am pretty tired, but who cares? Let's do this anyway, because it is the most meaningful. And if the significance of what we're doing here reaches just one person that I wouldn't have otherwise reached because I streamed today, it will be worth it. Why? Because this is exactly what we're here for. This is what we're here for. This is what we're here for. Weird to say, because it's not talked about a lot, which is kind of the point of this whole podcast thing. To talk about that which is most significant, specifically our reason for being here, and what's necessary to solve the problems that are causing our suffering and the suffering of the ones that we love. So, super, super important, super rare, I suppose, but hopefully not rare for too much longer because of this awesome podcast. Hooray!
Okay, go ahead. That's where you live. In the weirdo.
You get a back door and you get a weird spending right.
Hooray. What were we talking about before I talked about how I'm still a little bit exhausted from playing music all weekend? Oh yeah, the understanding. Understanding. It's through understanding that we can come to reflect. Oh yeah, and yesterday we had in a real time an experience of how the path of logos can function. Let's adjust the lighting so I can sit back a little bit. Because specifically, in order to surface the nature of the problems that you have to be aiming for your most meaningful goal. And one of the most meaningful things you can do is read Socrates, the Balboa version of, or the Balboa translation of the Platonic dialogues. And we were doing that yesterday or the day before. And in it, we saw how we were wondering whether or not Meno was brought to reflect on himself, the nature of self, the nature of the excellence of self, in a new way because of the dialogue that he had with Socrates. Or was he more like Anytos, who came in, claimed he knew everything, claimed he knew more about the experts? Hey, those experts are dumb. I know what true excellence is. And then when he was brought in reflective, reasoned dialectic to see that he doesn't, he got pissed and threatened to kill Socrates. So, our question in reading the Meno is that Meno's reaction at the end of the book? It was certainly his reaction at the beginning. Got pissed a lot. Did he turn himself around? Was he brought to a question? Was he brought to birth a question about the self? And was he brought into a certain state of mind? Because Anytos was certain. He knew it all. And I liken him to a kind of who's that guy with the brain worms who Trump appointed health minister or something? The guy who sounds like he gargles gravel for breakfast. Very, very sick man. Anyway, I saw a video today of him talking about you can't trust the experts of medicine, which is a weird thing for the Minister of Health to say. The people who have studied, the people who are experts in the field don't know what they're talking about, but I do. Someone who's not an expert. Doesn't really make any sense. That was Anytos' reaction. Those people who claim to know about justice and excellence and teach it, they don't know what they're talking about. They're a bunch of fools, but I do. And when he saw that he didn't, he got mad. So that's been the question. Was Meno able to let go of that certainty about the self, about the excellence of self? And was he brought into a state of curiosity and wonder? And did he birth a genuine question about himself, from himself? Now, as we were wondering about that, somebody in the chat went through a similar process. Now, we have to give flowers for our chatter. Round of applause.
You've been a bad little girl. You're getting a spanking right now?
No spankings. Because it's difficult. It's very, very difficult to go through it. And we saw how difficult it was. Now, Meno is somebody who grew up in wealth, grew up in privilege, was told that he knew everything, went to the best schools. He's a dude. He's sexist. He's racist. He thinks hurting people is good if it's the enemy. Like, typical for people brought up in wealth and brought up in politics today. But terrible. Typical, but terrible. Now, our chatter, very, very different. Empathetic. Not sexist. Had a understanding of the dialectic, of the significance of understanding, even an awareness of the pathologos and the significance of midwifery because of their familiarity with this channel. A better character. Already had humanist values. And yet, even for that person, difficult, challenging, and lots of tangents came up and distractions came up, internally and externally. Internally with thoughts of, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm not ready, things like that. Things that undermine the ability of the self, your own understanding, or your mind. But also external things that seem more important. The dogs are barking, someone's at the door, the phone's ringing, I gotta answer a text, those sorts of things. They all came up. Very difficult to face those things. And yet they did. So another round of applause from one person on my soundboard. It's enough from you. So very, very difficult. And we saw how difficult it was, even starting from that greater position. And And then there's me, which made it even more difficult. I'm not talking to the person in person. It's through chat, so that's a bit difficult. And also, I was emphasizing the significance of what they're going through to combat the force of the pathologos, which is nearly impossible to do. Do my best, get a bit animated, maybe throw in some swears, use analogies, that kind of thing. Which can be something that can be done once or twice at the beginning when you're new to philosophical midwifery, perhaps. Again, this is a judgment call. As you go through, you'll see, and hopefully you'll respond to the person. Again, being through chat, it's difficult to really gauge where the person's at and that sort of things. But it is important to emphasize the significance of going through it and the significance of the problems they're facing. Hey, this is super important. The most important thing. And the most challenging. The questions you have about how cruel people can be in the world and how difficult it is for people to turn around. How it's seemingly impossible it is for most people to ever even reflect on themselves in any sort of a way, let alone challenge their dear beliefs, let alone challenge the dear images of their loved ones that keep those false beliefs alive. Who wants to let go of their most beloved, beautiful images of parents and family members? So emphasizing the difficulty of going through that and the significance of going through that. But again, after it's been said, it's been said. The invitation has been given.
You're a wizard, Harry.
And also,
You're a wizard, Harry.
You've already said that.
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
Or the, what do they call it? In the hero's journey, the call to adventure. Hey, Luke Skywalker. The universe is in peril. Darth Vader is over the horizon with his Death Star and laser beam. Because being comfortable, staying with what's familiar, not reaching out beyond what you know, feels comfortable, feels familiar, feels safe, but that's part of the pathologos. But after it's been said, well, they know it. Well, they've heard it now. After that, it's up to them. After you've made the case to Luke Skywalker, hey, the universe is in peril because of the Sith? Is that what they are? The Sith? The dark side? The Empire? Well, now he knows. It's up to him to develop his own courage, his own natural interest, his own desire to participate in a relationship, the hero's journey, a process. It's not going to happen all at once, and it has to be their choice. But we can give the invitation, and that includes emphasizing the significance of this process and also emphasizing the power of the counterattack, that which will come up to undermine your insights, undermine your activity, undermine your success, and cause you to come back at Socrates and say, even though you're the best person helping me in the best way, screw you, Socrates, I'm gonna kill your ass. Which is what Anytos said to Socrates and what actually happened to him. So another way of understanding our journey, our purpose here as human beings, not only is to go through this process for ourselves, to remove the problems that prevent our spiritual growth, prevent us from reaching our most meaningful goals, keep us trapped in repeating cycles of failure and suffering. But also we have to do it as a culture and a species so that when a good person emerges from our ranks who can lead us into a better world, an equal world where everyone has a house, everyone has food, everyone has clean air and water. We don't see the world as a playground for the most sick, fascistic, cruel tyrants to just abuse everyone. So the numbers on their computer, in their bank account goes up. We're not here to be playthings for the pathologos of the most cruel, sick, unjust people. We don't have to live that way. But it will take a good person to emerge who can understand the causes of problems, address them, as well as create a map or diagnosis for our species, as well as a prescription for what we need to overcome our illness. So to address the illness, understand it, understand the causes of it, provide the prescription to cure our problems, but also present a map forward. If such a person does emerge from our ranks, they won't want to lead, because that kind of a person is the first person, the people with all of the wealth and all of the tyranny, pathologos ignorance, that's the first person they are going to go after. It's no coincidence that the cruelest among us are the most anti-intellectual. The Trumpers, the people who support Trump, that support I think there are 3 concentration camps that Trump has set up at the time of recording. One in, El Salvador, one in Guantanamo Bay, and one in Florida that recently flooded. So yeah, and I think he just gave $170 billion, taking it away from obviously American healthcare and Medicare and Meals on Wheels and children's lunches and anything that would actually benefit anyone, taking all their money away to put it into concentration camps. So again, the Nazis. We haven't defeated the Nazis. So they're still going strong, and it's super important we address this. So it's no coincidence that those sorts of people go after the intellectuals. So already some of the people who they've murdered and sent off to concentration camps or prison camps or torture camps have been people who have just spoken out against the genocide that Israel is perpetuating on the Palestinian people. Or people just critical of Donald Trump, or people who can reason and think. That's it. So if that's the case, if us as a species, our team, have said, okay, we want as our captain the sorts of people who are the most cruel, the most sadistic, and hate good people and intelligent people the most, that's our team. That's our pitch. If an intelligent, caring person does emerge, that can't be our pitch for why they should spend their life not completely focused on their own spiritual development, but helping the rest of us. Helping our development, help us get the boot of tyranny off our necks. If we say, come help us, and if you try, we will get our captain, who's the worst possible person you can think of, the most cruel and sadistic, who will hate you the most, we'll let him torture and abuse and kill you if you show yourself. What do you think he's going to say or she's going to say? We can't do that. So one of our jobs as human beings is, if we give a shit about anyone, if we care about anyone, if we want our species to survive, is to do better so that we can provide the case to this person or these people when they emerge. When we find them, hey, they might be out there, we just can't see them. Hey, listen, we aren't going to hurt you because A, we understand the pathologos. We understand the force that opposes the logos, that opposes intelligence and care. Providence and logos go together. That's what we've been seeing. If we participate in the logos through the dialectic, we get benefit, a divine benefit. And we can see that the entire universe is providential so long as we raise ourselves to reflect and become curious through the logos and understanding. Philodianoia, love of understanding. That's how we unlock that door. We have to say, hey, we can do it. We understand the power of the pathologos, so we're not going to fall prey. We understand the significance of philosophical midwifery. Everyone here does it every day. We're doing our best. We need your help, of course, but we're doing our best. To the point that if anyone ever speaks up against you, the Logos Providence, even though it will probably feel like the right thing to do because we're all human beings struggling to free ourselves from our pathologos, we know enough that we've made laws against that ever happening. Ever. There can never be another Trump. There can never be another Hitler or Stalin or Putin or Netanyahu. Can't ever be. That has to be our pitch to these people. Because otherwise, they're not going to fucking help us. Why would they? It would be absurd. The other part of our pitch has to be, and we see the value of the logos and dialectic to present like a doctor would diagnose a patient. If there's only one doctor in town, everyone would have to say, we value medicine. We're not going to burn you at the stake because we're all cultists or religious fundamentalists or backward assholes. No. We actually would need someone with understanding and knowledge and an art that can benefit all of us. Please come to our small town and be a doctor that we need. So we need to have a value of that. The logos, the dialectic applied to truth. So we can value what they do. So when they come in, we can say,
the more holes, the better.
Yeah, and we can give them a round of applause. I promise, I'm not going to apologize for my soundboard yet. I've been working on it. I promise I have. The new version is going to be out soon. You wait. So that's part of it. We're here to develop our own understanding of our problems, to free ourselves from them, to allow us to then do that second thing, follow the logos through the dialectic, like reading Mino, like the conversation we had yesterday, flowers again to chatter, for our own development, but also so we can make a case as a species for this person that we promise we won't counterattack them, and we will really, really value what they do, even though we won't see it and understand it to the level that they do. But we will, of course, value it to the point that we will agree to share all resources, share all information, share all technology the way we're supposed to meet all human needs in the most easy, renewable, sustainable, efficient way, so that we can spend 99.9% of our time understanding our problems, removing it through philosophical midwifery, and following the logos. That has to be our pitch. If we can't make that pitch, well, we might miss our opportunity. So, as you develop, which again is the most important thing, share it with your friends. Make a case. Make that case. Hey, don't you want to never have to pay rent to a greedy fucking landlord? Don't you ever want to have to fear the cops or fear being deported to one of many concentration camps? Don't you ever want to never fear being genocided by some psycho sadist? Wouldn't it be fun if we all just had a really fun time all the time? If that's the case, you need to get into midwifery. Philosophical midwifery. And there's a kick-ass channel that you can watch where this guy who is very, very tired, exhausted, but has an awesome soundboard
much.
That insults you for some reason because he thinks that's funny. And a wonderful community and Discord channel that you can join to learn about this stuff. You don't have to do it on your own. And it makes every conversation you have over coffee far more fun, interesting, meaningful, and enjoyable. Cheers. So, with all that under our belts, let's jump back into the text. We're in chapter 4, which is the dialectic. It's the stages of the dialectic. So, that very method of reflection through questions that surfaces the material from the person. So you're not telling them the answers. You're not pushing your own agenda. You're not lying, of course. How could you if you're not the one giving the answers? You are asking questions to help them turn around and reflect in different levels, different stages of self-reflection. Through these questions that surfaces the data that they need to reflect on themselves, to discover their puzzle and solve their puzzle. The friendly art, the friendly way, the noblest art, and really the highest art. And the meaning of life, really. Philodianoia, the love of understanding. So that, as we said, as the artisan, as you have to sort of use your intuition and address the specific needs of the person and the situation. But there is a method still. There is still a map. We're learning the map. And of course, because we are familiar enough with the significance of the dialectic, the map of everything, the map of the intelligibility, the map of the logos, we are looking specifically for the structure of the dialectic within the 12 stages of midwifery. Can we not just memorize it, but understand it, which helps you to see it, memorize it. So like when you're learning a new language, you have to start by just memorizing the utterances, the sounds. But after you understand how it works, you don't have to memorize. Like right now, I'm using English. I'm not thinking about it. I didn't have to memorize anything. It's just, you're just seeing through it. That's the process of moving from right opinions to understanding. If you can see it, see how and why it has to fit, then it's obvious. So how can you see how and why these stages have to fit? Why must it necessarily be these 12 stages? Why must it necessarily be these as the steps that every human being has to go through to become a good person and get rid of their problems and potentially do what we need to do to save our species and the people that we love? Therefore, the archetype or model of the hero's journey as well. How do we do that? Why must it necessarily be those things? That's the dialectic. That's how the dialectic functions. Oh, it has to be these because it fits with the dialectic. Oh, now I see how it works. It fits within this structure. And you can think of your own analogies for that. Oh, of course, I always use gaskets and carburetors. I'm going to have to stop using cars as analogies because I only know two car things. Gaskets and carburetors. I don't even know what they are. How about... Oh, I see why... what's something that's obvious once you see the map? Sometimes I use rugby because rugby is a crazy, violent sport. That would be terrible. Unless you understood the rules, you understood the map, you understood the field. I'm tired. You think of one. So that's what we're doing. We're looking at the parts. I do have a new chair. That's not very good. I think there's something wrong with it. So we are taking the steps, the stages, or the right opinions. We're applying the dialectic to it, which turns it into understanding, because we can say, oh, now I see it. I see how and why it has to be 12. I can see the delineations, the stages. I recognize them. Oh, like when you're playing a game, let's say. You are start as bronze rank, but then you level up to silver rank. There you go. Oh, I see what they did. They had to do X, Y, and Z. Now they've upgraded. Now they're a silver rank. Now they're in a different queue. They can play in different maps, that kind of a thing. So what we're doing now is, yes, last time we looked at the first stage, the first 3 or 4, A, B, C, and D. And now we're on silver. That was bronze. This is silver. The next 3 or 4 stages. So our hypothesis, which again comes from the dialectic, is there should be 4 stages, which fits nicely into 12. And then our question is, well, hang on a second. Each of those 4, shouldn't there be 16? Because if the dialectic is the structure of intelligibility, then shouldn't it be a dialectic within a dialectic? We did talk about how within the dialectic you can say what's true about something, what's false about something, and what's both. Therefore, there are 4 stages and triads within each, which reflect the 12 gods. The 12 Olympian gods used to represent this information in the mythology of Plato, the Platonic philosophers. But another theory we're carrying is, well, actually, maybe there are 4, but maybe the final stage of one is the first stage of the next, which is the principle of hyparxis, which, by the way, was the underlying principle of the dialectic, the dialogue that we had last time. A series of questions to get the person to reflect and reflect and reflect until they're brought to the end of what they can answer through mere reason. Yeah, mere reasoning and thinking. There's a kind of a limit. But to be brought to that limit, you have to reach the highest level of the previous level. The highest stage of the previous level. So in other words, if you get really, really good at manipulating people to extract their money, like the terrible people who are doing this in our society right now, cruel, heartless people, sadistic people, that's not going to get them to the next stage. They're always going to be stuck in their problem. They're always going to be miserable. No matter how many children they murder in the Middle East, how many bombs they drop on other people's heads, how many yachts they have, how many mansions they have, how much of the world they can say that they own, they are still going to be stuck and miserable. That won't upgrade. But if they turn around and they realize the most significant things in the world to understand are things like beauty, justice, and ultimately the self, or mind itself, that kind of reflection does have the potential to upgrade. That's the principle of hyparxis. That's the principle we're looking at and carrying as our hypothesis within each stage of midwifery. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, say something in the chat. How many people do I have in chat? 3,940 people. That's pretty good. I'm kidding, of course. That's just how long I've been streaming. That's the wrong number. So everyone in chat seems to be happy. Let's move in to the reading. Here is the book. All right, here we are in the book. So we started off with the first 4 stages. Number 1, hey, what's your problem, pal? Why do you believe you've been unable to reach your goals? So again, the idea of hyparxis. If philosophical midwifery is the most important thing you can do as a human being, the most necessary thing to do to become happy, remove your problems, but also save our species, then that means this has to come at the end of everything else. There has to be a kind of hyparxis leading into this. And the principle that we are pointing to represent each of those stages of development is ousia, which is a Greek word, which means to be able to, which is the capacity of the mind has to turn about and know itself. So we talk about there are some people who never reflect on their problems, like Anitos in the Meno, for example, which is another reason why it's important to do philosophy and midwifery, because you get a bunch of characters so you can point to certain things in real time. You don't have to keep saying Trump or keep saying Benny Yahoo or any of that shit, because, you know, it's a bit tiring thinking about those jerks all the time. But you can say, hey, Anitos. Anitos didn't turn himself around. He's like one of those rednecks. His first experience of a kind of reflection on what he thought self-excellence was sent him packing to get his shotgun, or the ancient Greek equivalent, which would be a air rifle, slingshot, spear. I don't know. So, the sort of person who can even begin the most meaningful task is someone who is reflecting on themselves and the problems they face. A lot of people find it easier to just blame everyone else. I don't have a problem, it's the world. I'm not this or that. Everyone just is too stupid to understand how great I am. And, you know, whenever you're watching, I bet there are celebrities or prominent figures who are being laughed at, who are being what we call at the moment lol cows, just fodder for people to laugh at, because they are not able to reflect on themselves in this kind of a way. So already for step 1, you have to be trying to reach your goals, have reflected on yourself and your the way in which you're approaching your goals, to realize I'm in a problem. And give me a sec. Something in my eye. So the sort of person who is reflecting on themselves enough to recognize they're in a problem and wants to talk about it with someone they consider thoughtful, kind, reflective. Someone familiar with midwifery, so they must have some awareness of midwifery. That's a pretty high level. And they are doing that, they are engaged in that reflection through understanding with someone who they consider the best person or of the best kind of people, participating in the best kind of activity, in order to want to understand it. How many people are interested in understanding? How many people are more interested in personal beliefs? Opinions. How many people love their own stupid opinions? Compared to how many people want to understand. And of that class of people who want to understand, how many of them want to understand themselves? So already, there's a kind of ousia that you've leveled up from trying to manipulate people like capitalists or fascists or whatever. You've leveled up from blaming everybody else like war hawks, violent people, military people, to wanting to reflect through words on yourself and understand with the best kinds of people in the best kind of way. This isn't debate. Give up that debate shit too. Now, that's not to say that there might be certain people that are interested in debate where you can maybe help them to see the significance of getting out of debate, but only as a way of hopefully introducing them to this. So, number one, why do you believe you have been unable to reach your goals? Notice, it's not the word understand. They don't have understanding. If they had understanding, they wouldn't have that problem. Now B, we got to make sure it's not just a one-off problem. My problem is I didn't win the lottery this week. You know it? So B is give an example of the difficulties that you're experiencing when trying to reach your goal, and give more than one example. Give 2 or 3 at least in the present, to make sure it's not a one-off. Oh, I kicked my toe the other day. Well, that's not the kind of problem we're after. Sufficient time, it's a number 3. And then again, this is a kind of relationship. So we started this this episode by talking about how it can be useful to point to the significance of this process, as well as the power of the pathologos and what's needed in your own character to keep going at the beginning. But after they've had that call to action, it's up to them. That won't work beyond that. Because it's a relationship, it's a process. That's number 3. Sufficient time is allowed for key ideas to unfold and reflect on the broader context. So already we have some keywords that jump out as blah 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 blah, jump out at us as indicative of division, the third stage of the dialectic. And that's kind of an easy pick because it's literally the number 3 in this thing. So it's probably going to be the third part of the dialectic. So what's division? Others to others, or broader context. So the first one, what's your problem? Give a definition of your problem. Not what is the problem, because that's what we want to get to eventually. The whole point of this is once you get to the true definition of your problem, the pathologos, you'll be free of it. So we start in belief. What do you believe is the definition of your problem? Why have you been unable to reach your goals? Do you believe? How does that function? How does that problem you've just defined function? Give a couple because we make sure it's the right kind of problem. And then that's definition, or how does it function? Self to others, and then others to others. That functioning, how does it function to other others? More broad context from which key ideas will unfold. Now, the final stage is synthesis and analysis. Synthesis is when you take those key ideas and can you bring them together in some way? And there are various different ways of doing that, but obviously the main one is, or the most ideal is, can you see them all together in a more significant whole? Because that's an upgrade. Going from, here are the things that here are the shapes and colors, to now I have understanding of how it works, or here are the specific negative thoughts, feelings, and problems and inappropriate actions that I'm facing, but I'm confused by it. If you can rise to a higher level of whole, you can see those parts, not be confused by them, but see how they all come together. Which is one of the themes of today's talk. The idea of we live in a world that's full of suffering and injustice and inequality and capitalism and fascism. Sexism, add that in there too. Racism, yeah. Throw a bit of racism spice on that mix. Seems obviously unjust and cruel until we can see the other parts good people rising to the surface. The conditions for us to have the motivation to go through the most difficult process. The fact that our problems are all solvable, all understandable. The fact that we have a guide along the way, a dream master. And that being rational too. So all these other parts can come to the surface, and when we can see them all functioning together as a whole to a greater purpose, then we can ask the question, well, is there a kind of justice beyond the parts? That's the stage here, from division to synthesis. That's an upgrade, rising to a level of whole, as Emma likes to say. Now, my current soundboard, I want to say the thing where she says the more holes the better, because that's the kind of humor I think I should be going for, the one that's funny because it's dirty, but also because it's okay because it has a philosophical significance. The more whole, rising to a higher and higher level of whole, the better. But my soundboard is whack at the moment, and I don't know what she's going to say.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now?
I thought it'd be something like that. So, that's the question. D, if this does follow the dialectic, this should be that rising to a higher whole. Let's see. They are encouraged to explore any difficulty that turns them away from their goal, making their failure inevitable. Is that what unifies it? Maybe, not really, because they already realize they're failing. The difficulty is often the effect of the presence of negative thoughts, feelings. Oh, goodness. This chair is going back to the store. Negative thoughts. Maybe I'll step back a little bit. Maybe that'll work. Negative thoughts, feelings, or inappropriate actions. After the subject are somewhat familiar with midwifery, they can be led to reflect on the differences between the statement they gave of their problem. That sounds like analysis. That's pretty cut and dry. Because the fourth stage of the dialectic is to unify those parts in the division into a whole and bring it back to the top. So if you are familiar enough, you've gone through it for a while, you can be led to reflect on the differences between their first definition, what they believe to be their problem, and what actually turns out to be a better explanation of why they have their problem as a result of this division, as a result of C. After they understand that problems are intelligible, there we go. So after they understand problems are intelligible, understanding of intelligibility, that sounds like a higher level of whole. Emma?
Freaks. I'm too pure.
Okay, she's too pure for the moment. But that's a higher level of whole. Kind of. So it's a kind of ousia. To recognize we live in an intelligible, or problems are intelligible, is an upgrade. How many people do you know realize problems are intelligible, solvable? Not many, if any. Even shrinks don't think that, usually. Cognitive emotive behavioral therapy is the current model of choice in mainstream psychology, which speaks to the idea that, there are some things understandable. After all, you got to pay the shrink for something. But humans are emotional creatures with feelings, and that's not understandable, which is a very easy way of passing the buck for one's lack of understanding. So therefore, through this process, you come to see that problems are actually understandable. You've upgraded. It's a level of ousia. So that speaks to our theory that D could be the beginning of the next stage, indicated by a new level of self-reflection, a new level of recognition of the intelligibility of self and reality. So this is also the significance of, we've been talking lately about the new study, philodianoia, that we are coining, and how it's a 3-part process of midwifery, philosophy, and dream analysis. Or, as we are seeing here, you could take it as 3 or take it as 4 if you include mythology, using it in your creations, in your art, and what you share with people. Now, that conversation I was referring to at the start of the stream. Yeah, maybe. In that conversation, while reading the Meno, doing philosophy, we pointed to the fact that chatter was brought into a state of curiosity and wonder, but it was fleeting. The pathologos jumped straight in. And would have forgotten about it. Unless we did some reflection and they were talking with somebody like myself that can point to, and yourselves hopefully, that can point to the significance of that state of mind, and that we can forget it, and it's fleeting, and that we have to blow it up, and that the more we point to it, the easier it's going to see. We're going to be able to see it. But all of that whole idea is unfamiliar. What a strange way of talking about a moment. However, that whole thing... God damn this chair. I was so excited to get this new chair today. Anyway, let's keep going. That whole thing is exactly what we do in dream analysis. You forget your dreams until somebody points out the significance of your dreams. You don't remember them. You don't look at them. And you'll never look at them unless somebody says, hey, they're understandable. There's a significance, like that state of mind. And then the more we look at it and talk about the significance, the more you remember your dreams. The more you blow it up. And within dream analysis, the last dream analysis stream, we talked about how one of the launching pads, or one of the tools in dream analysis is to look at the lowest state of mind you went through within the plot, within the drama of the story of your dream, because that will often be an indication of your pathologo state of mind. So a kind of gateway into midwifery, but a more focused midwifery, because you're being guided by what the dream master is saying is your problem, not what you think your problem is. So already you're starting many levels up. So dream analysis is the best way into midwifery. But also high state. What was the high state of mind in the dream? And those states you will begin not recognizing. I've been through it. I've been in a dream analysis talk with the author of this book, and he kept saying, hey, what was that state of mind that you're in here? Nothing. No, wasn't a state of mind. Why do you keep asking me about it? Nothing happened. I was annoyed before you were annoyed. Well, I don't know. Nothing. I don't know. What? I was angry that nobody else saw blah, blah, blah. Before that, it was so small, I didn't even see it was there. But we practice that. We practice blowing it up, getting into it. Even though we've forgotten it, even though we might not even seen it was there. And the more we do dream analysis, the more we see other people going through that, the more we understand that as a thing, as a principle, as an activity. So that when we are in a state like that, through philosophy, not dream analysis, through reading the Meno, like the last chat, when I say, hey, by the way, when you said this, before you got distracted or before you undermined yourself, I know those things were more real and more dramatic and seemed more real to you and more dramatic and seemed to take up more of your time. But I want to focus on this instant. If we're also doing dream analysis, that principle or that idea will be more familiar with them. They'll listen. They'll care. They won't think we're just talking nonsense. So dream analysis can give us the activity, the experiences, the tools, the insight to look at certain things, certain principles that we wouldn't otherwise be familiar with, that we need in philosophy. So dream analysis, you could say, is even more significant. I mean, they go together, but you have to be doing dream analysis to really participate in philosophy for that reason. And of course, as we will see as we continue to read, Socrates says the same thing about midwifery. You can only surface the particular things you need to see about your pathologos problem through dream analysis. And as we continue on the channel, as it picks up a stream from, let me just check, from 0 viewers to more than that, we'll get into the Iliad, the story of Achilles, played by Brad Pitt in the movies, the talkies. He said, I am Achilles, and he threw a spear at that Australian actor, Eric Bana, who was also the Hulk, back before the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's where I got this juice. I milked him. Oh, I'm hulking out. But in a Eric Bana way. So that story is the story of somebody who was the worst kind of a person, but got the information he got about his problem that he was blind to through dream analysis. So Socrates said it, Homer said it, but we can also see it by ourselves, so long as we're doing midwifery with dream analysis and philosophy with dream analysis. So, stuffy. After their subjects understand their problems are intelligible, which gives us a clue this might be the definition of the next stage, because it's a high level of Usia, they can appreciate the difference between their definition, which is analysis. My lighting is terrible. I'm going to change my lighting as I go. The difference between what they said was their problem and what they are now seeing in this new kind of reflection as another manifestation of that very problem. However, introducing that comparison before a level of sophistication has been reached only causes undue confusion and perplexity to the subject. So again, it's a relationship. It takes time. They have to evolve and grow. They have to become more mature. Otherwise, they'll freak the fuck out. And we don't want that. Okay, so if our theory... What color? Oi. Oi. Red-ish? What makes me look less pasty in this light? Back to blue, eh? I don't have to be recording this part. Okay, so we don't want to confuse them, get them to freak out. But that's the idea. So we have the analysis part, but where's the synthesis? Because we have negative thoughts, feelings, inappropriate actions, but that sounds like the key ideas that have unfolded through C. So that was the end of last time, and that's the beginning of the next section, which we are hypothesizing is the second stage of second category of midwifery. E, number A, B, C, D, 5. Perhaps the demonstration. So whatever was that unity synthesis that we referred back to the beginning, analysis. Synthesis analysis is the fourth stage, conclusion. If that's also the definition, this will be demonstration. Let's see if we're looking at something functioning to test our hypothesis. After discussing the role, functioning, you function through a role, maybe. This particular
Hey, whoa. Who asked you? Okay, go ahead.
state of mind. The functioning of a state of mind. So if it's definition, if it's demonstration, then it would be S to O, subject to others, self to others. So what's the self state of mind? How's it functioning in a role? Does that fit the theory? Has our author given us a little puzzle to solve? By the way, would we have recognized the puzzle the author gave us to solve if we didn't have a level of sophistication within philosophy and midwifery? No. We wouldn't be actively looking for the dialectic. So Pierre, as a master of the logos himself, like Socrates, helping us in philosophy, has left a puzzle that would only be able to be solved so long as we were in the game. It's like a alarm clock. Once humans have woken up to the significance of the dialectic, which is important, which is a new level of ousia, which is a kind of hyparxis, a kind of entry into a new game, then they will see the puzzle. What's the puzzle? D is missing something. How can you know you're missing something if you don't know the map? If you don't know the map of a car engine, how do you know the carburetor's not there? You won't. So there's a puzzle to be solved, and we can only see it if we are in the right activity, which is what? Moving from right opinion to understanding, which is how? Through the through the application of the dialectic, trying to see it, apply right opinion to understanding. Otherwise, fuck me, trying to apply the dialectic to right opinion to upgrade it to understanding. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen it. Isn't that neat? Isn't that a neat way of functioning? By the way, does that kind of functioning reflect exactly what a midwife is supposed to do himself or herself? Not give you the answers, but give you what you need so that if you have reached a certain level of sophistication yourself, you will see the puzzle yourself, and you can use the material that has been brought to the surface to solve your own puzzle. Isn't that exactly what midwifery is? Is that what Socrates is doing to us through time in our reading of the Meno? Is that what Pierre has done to us right here? Therefore, is Pierre Grimes, the author, demonstrating the functioning of a dialectician, which he is also defining. Isn't that interesting? What do you think?
Can't you just engage with anything in a way that's like meaningful ever? Like, it's just boring, I think, is the problem. I'm just bored of it.
Exactly. Somehow. I think it's neat too. I'm not going to apologize for my sound. So, isn't that interesting? Therefore, what have we learned? We've learned that when we are ourselves going through this process, we need to be looking for a problem. We need to be trying to give it our belief of why it's a problem. Make sure we've got a few instances of it in our present. Reflect on it through time with our friends over coffee. What? To ourselves, take notes about certain negative thoughts, feelings, inappropriate actions. Which again came up in our talk last time with our chatter friend. But then, if we want to upgrade, the heck? To the next level, we want to look for a certain state of mind that can unify all of those things. And recognize it wasn't what we thought it was our problem. That, I don't know, women, the immigrants, it was actually a certain state of mind that we get into for some reason. And then we can move to number 5 or E and discuss how that particular state of mind functions, how it's played out in our lives. So now we take off our Luke Skywalker or Harry Potter hat of the adventurer, and we put on our Sherlock Holmes Deerstalker hat. And we try and trace back what we have seen, the most important clue, or what we have. We started with the clues in the first section, looking at the elements of looking at the examples of problems to surface certain things. In C, those things turned out to be negative thoughts, feelings, states of mind. So those would be our clues. But then we have a prime suspect state of mind. Now we need to find that prime suspect. Where did he go? Where did Moriarty go? We have to trace him back to his lair. See? So how can we trace Moriarty back to his lair? We have to explore a past scene where we experienced most intensely that state of mind. What a strange activity to do. Never heard of such a thing. Isn't it better to just blame the others? Or drop a bomb on someone else's head? Or take away shelter or food from everyone else? That will teach them a lesson. That will show them who's right. Right? We've seen this time and time again. The most sick, deluded people incapable of, blocked from self-reflection, they think revenge or inflicting suffering will solve their problem. Cruelty. Our whole fucking justice system isn't about solving problems.
No one seems to be learning or growing or addressing actual problems.
No one's learning or solving actual problems. We're not doing that. That would be restorative justice. We have retributive justice, or inflicting revenge, punishing people. Put them in prison. Throw them in the all the concentration camps. The Republicans, By the way, someone once said on this channel, how can you say that there's no such thing as a right wing or a conservative party? It's actually a pathologos party. What the fuck? How many concentration camps has the Conservative Party? If a political party is supposed to be just a difference of opinion on how to best benefit everyone, literally the government is there as a representative of the collective, the best of us, who has the best understanding of how to help everyone, and he's putting his own people in concentration camps just to make billionaires a few extra bucks, and also because they mistake cruelty for wisdom? How can that be a political party? It can't be. By definition, it's not helping the people. It's not a political party. It's a sickness. So there is no conservative party. It's not a thing. It's just the pathologos group. By the way, the left wing, the Democrats, who have said we should compromise with these people. All right, how many concentration camps is a compromised? Well, there's 3 at the moment. Should we have 1.5? Is that a good compromise? How many concentration camps is a compromise? Are we compromising with the pathologos? Of fucking course not. Do you compromise with cancer? Everyone should have a little bit of cancer. Isn't that fair? It's obvious once you have a level of understanding of rationality and the pathologos. However, saying that to someone who has not reached a level of sophistication, they might experience undue confusion and perplexity. I've never heard anyone talk like that. I'm not familiar with the pathologos. I've never heard of understanding. I just thought everything was a matter of opinion. And Nazi opinion is just as opinion as good opinion, right? It's a difficulty. That's why any good government would be introducing this straight away, every day. Dream analysis, philosophy, and midwifery every day before lunch. By decree of the president, by decree of the government, because that's what actually benefits people. If they don't have a level of sophistication of this understanding, pointing out, hey, you shouldn't do any concentration camps, or government should be objective understanding of what objectively, universally benefits everyone, just like any other art, just like a mechanic or a pilot or a doctor. That's so basic. But it will confuse and perplex people unless they are familiar with this. Therefore, if we realize it's good that everyone recognize Nazis are bad, and concentration camps are bad, and a few dozen billionaires having everything while they murder millions and millions of people is bad, if we recognize everyone needs to recognize that as bad, this would be mandatory. Because it serves the public good. For the public to recognize that bad things are bad. What do you say?
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now?
See? That's what they'll try and do. Give you a vigorous spanking. But we will say...
Is this chat full of dumb cunts?
To anyone who says that in chat. And...
But this is probably the stupidest, craziest example of this little kid style lying I think I've seen on this channel thus far.
I can't work with these sound drops. I need to improve them. Alright, so... by the way, another thing, another level of familiarity. tracing a state of mind back through our past, or looking for a certain state of mind and looking for the most intense time it's happened. That's not an activity I've ever done. That's not something I see on TV. No one in the cast of Friends has ever done that. No one on The Big Bang Theory did that. And LeBron James never did it. Isn't that where we get our mythology from? You know where we do it, is dream analysis, which is what we saw last time in our dream analysis talk. Dream analysis looks for the most intense negative state of mind that happened in the dream. And in the dream, we also do division. We do see. Look at the broader context so that key ideas unfold, or repeating themes. We have several dreams. And a dream might have different scenes from which a repeating theme will emerge. That's key for dream analysis. That's dream analysis 101. And from those repeating themes, we look for the most significant example or expression of that state of mind. That's where we hone in on. We focus in on. Therefore, a familiarity with dream analysis is super, super helpful in understanding what we are going through in this midwifery process and what we are facilitating for our friends and loved ones as a midwife. Therefore, you go to first grade at school, you get your little cubby to put your bag in. You see where you put your lunch in the fridge, and then before morning tea time, we look at our dreams from year one to get a familiarity with this kind of thing, making it obvious and normal, so that we can do the most important thing and our purpose, or the what we called the Great Turducken. Turducken in screenwriting, the idea of the Holy Grail, or the meaning is, represents as a metaphor the meaning of life. Doesn't everyone want to know the meaning of life? But it's always out of our reach. When anyone says there's a meaning of life, there'll be 10 other people to stand up and go, well, nobody actually knows that. We don't know which religion is real. We don't know the meaning of life. And then because of the pathologos, people think because they don't know it, it can't be known, which is a weird quirk humans have that we can understand. And because I don't know the meaning of life, and my mummy and daddy don't know the meaning of life, and they've never seeked the meaning of life, then nobody could know it. It's unknowable. Which is a strange statement to make for someone who doesn't know what knowledge is. Anyway. So we represent it as in mythology or in storytelling as something that's super, super valuable and recognized by everyone to be valuable, the Holy Grail, but always out of our reach. And in screenwriting, the whatever object you choose for that object, for that sort of fake goal or unattainable goal, to move the drama forward while you actually explore whatever idea you are exploring in your story. They call that a MacGuffin. MacGuffin. Like that Sum 41 song, Fat Lip. You'll be sitting on the corner talking old like a MacGuffin. You're on the hit list. Something ringing off the hook. Forget it. I have to be playing it to remember it. I like songs with distortion and drinking in proportion. The doctor said my mom should have had an abortion. Abortion. I don't want to waste my time singing a song when I'm supposed to be streaming philosophy. That's how the song goes. MacGuffin. Or a turducken, which is another way of saying it if you forget the word, which I did. So, the turducken, Why are we talking about turduckens? I forget because I did a thing about a song. So, if there is an objective meaning to life, and there is, and it definitely has to involve this, then becoming familiar with the sorts of activities involved, like going to school and learning how to cook, so you gain familiarity with what you need to do to live, or learning how to read and write, gaining a familiarity with the aspects or skills you need to do what you need to do to live. And if this is the meaning, this is the Great Turducken, then yeah, it's from grade 1. Before morning tea time, we explore dreams. This is the kind of stuff that will be explained by the sorts of people who will rise to the surface within our society. Oh, that's the guy that we need to find, or the girl that we need to find. It makes that statement. And because we are learning about it here in the stream, we go, oh, I remember this. And I thought it through with Jen and the wonderful people here in the channel.
Can't you just engage with any whore much?
Who, the wonderful whores on the channel. So we recognize what he's saying, or she's saying. We need to do this. It's important for us. Otherwise, how do we know who we must demand lead us? If we don't, you know who will demand they lead? If the good, smart, caring people don't think there is an art, they are not going to say, oh, I have the art. Because they're not bastards who lie. They're good people. You know who will claim they have the art? Mino and Anitos and Trump and Benny Yahoo and Putin and Hitler. The worst people will lie. They lie. That's their thing. They're anti-logos. They're opposed to reason, evidence, and intelligibility. That's a mark of the pathologos. The most pathologos ridden, the most ignorant, the most sick, will claim it. Therefore, there's two things we must objectively, universally, turduckenly do every day, every person, every good person. Gain a familiarity with the actual cause of human problems, and it ain't the poor people, it ain't the foreigners, it ain't the women, it ain't all the people Trump is sending to fucking concentration camps, it ain't the Palestinians, it's the pathologos. We have to gain an understanding of that, and we also have to gain an understanding of the significance of understanding itself, philodianoia. We have to gain an understanding of the logos, which isn't an opinion or belief, because understanding isn't a personal opinion. Which is the first chapter. We understand that for mechanics and flying a plane. Why are we therefore so immature and irrational when it comes to ourselves, our state, our government, how we treat our friends, our relationships, our partners? Two things we have to do: understand the cause of problems, the pathologos, understand the value and significance of the actual intelligible map for an art, so the actual good and caring people will say, yeah, fuck yeah, I need to be the one in charge. I don't want to be, because I'd rather be hanging out with my friends doing midwifery and philosophy and dream analysis before morning tea, and making songs, mythology, throw that in there. That's where the real fun is. That's the world that we could all be doing that every single fucking moment, because we have the technology where no one has to work anymore. These politicians saying, oh, the poor people need jobs. Fuck you. If jobs were valuable, all the rich people would have bought them. Because that's what rich means. You get to buy everything valuable, leaving everyone with nothing. It's fucked. We don't want jobs. We want to do those 4 things. Objectively, it's what makes us happy. It's what is fun. How fun is it writing a song about what's significant to you? How fun is it to write an anime or make a film or have a conversation about what's significant to you? What's fun and cool and interesting and rad? Wait, I gotta drop for this.
Imagine people. Where's the joy? Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
Where's the childlike wonder and the joy and the whimsy, dude? So they won't want to do it, but they will claim it, or we'll make them claim it. But the good and caring people won't think that they are the right woman or man for the job unless they understand that understanding is objective and an art, and it's the logos, and it solves problems, it's the dialectic. We need it. Otherwise, the assholes will lie and pretend they have it. What do you think the preachers of the world are? Lying to children, saying if you don't give me your money or have sex with me, you'll go to hell. Fuck you with your religious shit. That's beliefs and opinions that are objectively wrong. We've gone through this in the previous chapter. I don't have to get worked up about it. Calm down, hey?
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now?
Stop telling me I'm a bad girl, Emma, and stop giving me a vigorous spanking. It's not appropriate anymore. So again, this is the significance. If we don't insist on the intelligibility of understanding and a paradigm and a map, the assholes will pretend and lie. That's what they do. That's where we're at the moment. So we have to do 2 things. Understand the value of understanding, as well as surfacing the objections to it, because those people will be the ones that we need to address. They represent the pathologos of our species. So anyone opposed to understanding and helping everyone, we need to have a look at. Okay, how did you get to this point? How did you get to this point where you're doing concentration camps? That's pretty fucked, dude. What were the causes and conditions that led you to that moment? So that we can make sure it never happens again in our society, but so you can also get help as a soul too. Easy. Everyone in my town's getting cancer. Well, let's do 2 things. See what's happening that's causing everyone to get cancer in society. Maybe there's something in the water. Probably poison dropped by a capitalist. But also help the people themselves who have cancer. That's just common sense. I shouldn't say that's just common sense because that word is misused by people who are ignorant. That's just understanding. Right? So, with that understanding, we'll recognize the people who are running on a political platform. Well, they probably won't be running. People who value dream analysis, and we'll say, oh, that's the people. Go be a ruler. And they'll say, no way. I'll say, come on. It's your responsibility. Like a responsibility in my foot. Well, actually, if you don't do it, you know who will do it? And they'll go, oh yeah, well, you're right. Would you rather be ruled by the worst, or would you give us 20 years of your life to help everyone else? So, and as a result of us doing dream analysis, we can see we're familiar with the tool of looking for that negative state of mind, recognizing it's what unifies the divisions of part C, and we're looking for the highest, so in the highest demonstration of that. So part C was what brought to birth the new definition, The new definition is a state of mind.
Okay, go ahead.
Is this
Well,
child
you're
going
doing
dump
your
that
best.
little girl?
Okay.
And you're
State of mind. So that's definition. What's this demonstration? Well, the highest demonstration. The most intense time in your past. That's the Sherlock Holmes. That's how you find Moriarty. Hey, Moriarty, we looked at the clues from the first section. We deduced that our criminal was a state of mind or Moriarty. Now we got to find him. How do we find Moriarty? Well, he likes to do crimes. So let's look for the most intense crime that happened in England. Is that where Sherlock Holmes is? Where Harry Potter lives?
You're a wizard, Harry.
You're a detective, Harry. Can't believe I don't have any viewers when I make awesome jokes like that. So when was the most intense crime that happened? Because Moriarty was probably behind it. That's how we can track him down. It might be difficult for some subjects to identify that state of mind in a particular past scene because it may have been a common feature of so much of their past. Hey, maybe Moriarty's like Trump. Every day it's fucking Trump with this guy. It's hard to identify he's sick and criminal and fascistic and Nazi and all the bad stuff. Because every day we're talking about, everyday comedians joke as if it's a joke. Or interview him like, or everyday reporters treat him like he's a god or something. Weird. So, it is sufficient to ask them if they recognize that state of mind, if they can't identify the intense scene, it's regular, it's normal to be part of the background of their life, reminding them it's not unusual for these states of mind to be continuously experienced. Some people are in it all the time as the background of one's early life. Given this condition, hey, everyone in my town has cancer. Hey, we live in that town with the Coca-Cola factory that just pours waste into the lake because that let me check my notes here. Because if I pour all my or pour all the pollution into the lake, it makes more profit, and that's the only thing in capitalism that matters. Well, there you go. Causes cancer, but numbers on computer go up. Well, there you go. Isn't it great that we have capitalism? Put my notes down here. So everyone has three eyes in this town. It's just regular background stuff. That's a metaphor, of course. Another example might be, I know you grew up in a country or a place or a culture that's anti-women. A lot of religions use that as the appeal. Hey, you get to feel superior because you get to subjugate and rape women because they're the devil. So if that's the everyday way of being, not far off our current world, then it might be unusual. It might be difficult to recognize that as a state of mind. That's a problem because it's just the regular background. Given this condition, a scene often surfaces when the subject is asked to reflect on a time when the state was more intense than usual. Yeah, the fucking patriarchy. Yeah, the assholes in charge of everything. Politics, religion, all those tools of oppression. Yeah, they always use hating women's as the selling point. But ever really, really felt like you were not good because you're a woman the most? That kind of thing. When was it more intense than usual? If this fails, if even then they can't think of something, the midwife should pursue more examples of the problem in the subject's present experience. Let's talk about it some more. Which seems like they going back to here. No, it doesn't, because we're not just reflecting on problems themselves. We have a different level of understanding reflection to recognize our cause of problems is a state of mind. So in the second stage of the first category, second level of the first category, how would you say it? Let's say the stages. Let's say there are 4 stages to match the 4 stages of the dialectic, and there are 3 levels. Let's use that. So the second level is a demonstration of your problem, but give 2 or 3 more examples. So we see that reflected again here. You can't find the strongest demonstration of what you've defined in D. Well, give 2 or 3 more examples of where this state of mind has happened at play or at work. If such an approach is taken, more recent past scenes may be more accessible, so you can explore that. That can be an object of reflection. But ideally, we want the most intense scene the earliest we can remember it. Again, remembering things from the past that we have forgotten, that might have even been a different life for us, or I was a different kind of a person back then, maybe. What an unfamiliar thing to ask someone to do. Unless you've been doing dun dun dun.
That's weird that you think that.
Dream analysis, because that's exactly what dream analysis is, yet again. Remember from first grade, before morning tea time. Literally, you have to practice crossing that threshold into a different past self that you don't remember. It's difficult to remember, but it's everyday stuff. It's familiar. Just as our problem state of mind is often familiar because it's everyday background stuff, what we want to do is do the opposite. What this is a distortion of, making self-reflection, recovering our memories, everyday and familiar. What's learning in philosophy? How do you know the true nature of being, reality, the brilliant light of pure being, beauty itself, justice itself? You're remembering what your soul knew before you were born into a world where you experience through your physical senses. We still have that ousia. That's learning, is to awaken that reflection or self-reflection or ousia, to remember, like in dream analysis. So if you're doing it in philosophy to know the truth about self and reality, you're doing it in midwifery to recover the false, the most intense time from your past that you had this negative state of mind. Dream analysis goes both ways. Like my stuffy here. She gives me kisses, but then she also gives little baby chicken kisses. She goes both ways.
Talking about a bunch of slop.
Talking about a bunch of slop. I apologize. So that's the idea. So we want to talk about more recent scenes might be more accessible and can be explored. There are times when the subject will not be able to surface such past scenes. When this occurs, it's best to recognize it as an obstacle to the recollection. So again, the more familiarity you get with obstacles and blocks, the more you might recognize that that particular block might be another example of the problem. And then there's a little thing where he says, some past episodes may seem to have formidable defenses to that recollection against their being surfaced, in which case the midwife may either terminate the dialogue and suggest discussing it later. Remember, it's not a one-off thing. It's a relationship. It's a way of being. It needs to become our background. Or you can refer the subject to a psychotherapist skilled in handling resistance of this sort of kind. Before deciding on the referral, the midwife can, here we go, decide to explore the obstacle itself because the obstacle itself can be used as the manifestation of that pathologos, of that state of mind. Hooray! They jump for joy. So again, we are on E, which is the demonstration or the functioning of D, of the state of mind of Moriarty. But hey, you can't surface any of the crimes Moriarty does. Maybe that's because Moriarty is right there right now, whispering in your ear. You don't. He's doing the Jedi mind trick. Does Moriarty know Jedi skills? Probably. I don't know. It's made up. Who cares? Shut up. You don't remember my crimes, Sherlock. I'm not the suspect you're looking for. Right? Well, if that's the case, then you can use that as as Moriarty demonstrating himself right there. The obstacle to the exploration is itself a state of mind. There you go. State of mind functioning as a block. And it too can be described and discussed in the same way as any other past scene would be explored. Oh, so you're a bit blocked, hey? What's it like to be blocked? Does it have a voice? Yeah, it sounds like some evil British Jedi guy. No, it doesn't, Sherlock. Yeah, it's a voice. Yeah, really? Right now? Doesn't sound like an evil Jedi Moriarty man from England. It sounds like a lovely, peaceful butterfly. It says it sounds like a butterfly, but I really can't remember this past scene. It's like there's somebody whispering in my ear that I'm not good enough, or I'm gonna fail and let you down. I really value you as a midwife, but I don't want to let you down, but I feel like I'm gonna let you down by not remembering anything right now. Like that is exactly what they're gonna do, and they'll do it. I'm joking, of course. Very funny. But actually, there will be states, there will be gestures and ways of being, and they'll be doing gestures and they'll be saying it in a certain way and they'll be holding themselves in a certain way. These are all demonstrations of that state of mind if they're in the block right now in E. So you can ask them. So that can be things that you can use as a midwife. Hey, by the way, I noticed you used your hand in that way. I noticed you did a little dance like this. That was really cool and awesome. What a sexy dancer you are. What's that like, or how do you feel? When did you learn how to dance that sexy? So you can say that. What's that gesture? Or use a funny word there. Tell me about that word. These sorts of things you can look for. Again, the more familiar you get with it, the more funky you can get with it. The more you can recognize those sort of this word is tricky. Idiosyncratic. Particularities, you get it. So the obstacle to the exploration is itself a state of mind too, and therefore it can be described and discussed in the same way as any other past scene would be explored. The midwife should be trained to make such determinations or to refer to another who can assist in that decision. So, I guess if you're in a community like we have here, you can discuss this block that you're having in your midwifery with another midwife. Very, very important. Because, hey, the midwife might have a block too. You might have a block. Bring in a third party. And he also gives a bit of a shout out to regular shrinks. So I guess it's fine. I guess that would be the value of regular shrinks who are not doing this. They're kind of behaviorists. So normal psychology or psychotherapy is usually based on not addressing the problem, but finding techniques to temporarily put off the problem or sidestep the problem, which is what he's saying here. Yeah, if there's some technique that some shrink knows, then sure. To step out of their problem, like a breathing technique, could be fine. Who cares? To get out of the block to their recollection, and they can use that brief moment through that technique to then recall the past scene so that they can actually address the problem. Fine, fair enough. So we've got a new definition, we've got a new demonstration, and what comes after demonstration? Obviously it is division. Hooray. Division. When these past scenes are reviewed, so what we're looking for, we're looking to test our hypothesis of division, which would be what we've seen demonstrated, self to others, onto other others. So the same functioning in a different context. When these past scenes are reviewed, the ideas and themes, that's another feature of division, ideas and themes. We have divisions in scenes in our dreams. Every different scene is a different division. And if there's a significant thing that the Dream Master is trying to tell you, he'll tell you in many different ways. So the ideas and themes that function in and through family roles. So again, he's giving us a clue. How does the state of mind function? Well, it functions through our life. So we're looking for a more intense expression of it. It functions in the talk itself. It functions in your present, in your work and play. It functions as a block to doing midwifery or remembering your past scenes. All of that was in E. That's a manyness. When we have a manyness, we want to understand it by bringing it into a unity. That's what understanding is. You see many different birds that waddle around and flap around and peck and eat grain. But you understand it when you can unify all of those specific things and say, it is a chicken. Look at all the chickens. Look at all of the chickens. Here's one chicken. You are looking at all the chickens because I have one chicken. That is all of them for me. So what would be something that unifies all of those particular expressions? In other words, how does that state of mind really function? Through family roles. Boo. No. Wait, why is that a yay? It's supposed to be boos. Family roles begin to emerge in those divisions as the puzzles about their meaning surface. And the puzzles about the meaning surface. It is by challenging the subject to face these puzzles. So what are the puzzles? Well, the divisions should be different expressions of what we saw in E. So definition, state of mind. Demonstration, how's it function? Here. Now, usually demonstration is the one and division is the many. But so we look for the one most intense time. But we can also look at several examples in the present, work and play, within the talk itself, of course. And then from there, how does that, what is the greater context of that functioning? Well, the context is ideas and themes emerging through family roles. Ooh. So what happens with division? We need to find something to puzzle about. So the division are all the different clues. How do we bring it together? How do we find out who our suspect is? How do we find out where Moriarty is? That it is Moriarty. We're looking for a puzzle. That's why we read. Looking for puzzles. We started with our first, you could say, what we are doing is demonstrating what we're defining. We read chapter 4. There's only a couple of pages? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pages. Super short compared to the last one. Super long. You read it. Oh, we got a nice definition of what the stages of the dialectic are. Neat. But then we had to talk about it some more, give a demonstration of it. After we highlighted everything, we had to go through and look at all the pieces. But now we're really dividing it up into its elements to find things to puzzle about. Looking for puzzles. That's division. Looking for the puzzles. So also in philosophy, we see the division stage is usually where people change their mind. You give a definition of something in philosophy and that might be sufficient. Oh yeah, I get that. I'm familiar enough with beauty itself. I know about justice itself. I know what Usi is. And then but Socrates is talking to someone like, oh, actually, I don't know what that is. Can you? I'm a bit lost. Oh, it's just this. This is how you would see it. Oh, beauty itself, it expresses itself. It functions in this way. That's how you'd recognize it. Oh, now I get you. If they don't get it there, he breaks down the arguments, divides it up. Well, this is how it would function within the context of... So we've been talking about participating in the dialectic in the Meno. Freeing ourselves from our pathologos within the context, the broader context of what we're reading. We're reading the Meno. And in the Meno, Socrates says, hey, by the way, this is how excellence would function within the city. You said that virtue is for a man ruling the city? Well, this is how it would function. Your state of mind of curiosity versus certainty, the certainty of thinking you know that which you don't, pathologos, or the curiosity and wonder that we are emerging into in our reflection through the dialectic. This is how it would function for Athenians. Don't you care about this? For us, we talk about, hey, how do we put an end to the concentration camps that the Pathologos Party, the Republicans and shit, are setting up? How do we stop the homelessness in Australia? I walk out the street, there's all these people living on the street. We have the same amount of homes as we did 2 years ago. Oh, the fucking capitalists. Hooray! How do we put an end to that? People going crazy or starving or freezing to death or dying on the streets. In Australia. What the fuck? The broader context. To give rise to puzzles. Alright, so what's the puzzle? Well, the broader context are the ideas and themes of the expression of the state of mind, and the puzzles are how it relates to our family roles. Isn't that curious? What role did you play growing up? Were you the peacemaker? Were you the comedian? Were you the whipping boy? Were you the one everybody picked on to get the sense of unity? Because you were cleverer? Were you the sacrificial lamb? Were you the you get the idea. You get it. Yeah. You're a really smart person. You get it. So clever and pretty. You get it. It is by the ideas and themes that function in and through family roles begin to emerge, and the puzzles about their meaning surface. So you're puzzling about what's the meaning of all this? And it is by challenging the subject, our role as the midwife, to face these puzzles, you can do it. You can do it. You're so pretty and smart and wise. You can do it. I believe in you. Is exactly how you would say it. I need to sleep. A bit loony. So you not only face those puzzles, but conclude. See if you can come to a hypothesis. Conclude. Put all the pieces together and conclude who was the suspect. Is it Moriarty? I know I used him in the example for the previous stage, but who cares? This isn't a Netflix series. This is what I think of you criticizing my analogies.
You are a fantastic moron.
See? It works sometimes. Okay, challenge the subject to face the puzzles, number one, and to conclude about those puzzles, about the meaning of their recollections that... Wait a minute. It is by... Here we go, let's say it again. It is by challenging the subject to face the puzzles and to conclude about the meaning of their recollections that the distortions of the past are reduced. So once you see, once you get puzzled about how this state of mind plays out, how it relates to your family role, that can raise some puzzles. What role was I playing? I thought my parents were all wise and knowing, like every kid does. Which doesn't make sense, of course, because it was full of injustice. Everyone had a parent. What the fuck? Easier to say, harder to feel. That's why we need courage. Everyone feels like they are the exception. Their parents were the actual saints. Their religion was the actual right one. Their culture is actually number one. Absurd, but that's where we are as a species. We have to move out of absurdity and the barbarism and the tyranny, fascism, capitalism, exploitation, destruction of our planet for numbers on a billionaire's checkbook into actual humanity, actual rationality, actual maturity and evolution. If we can't do this, we don't evolve. That's it. We're done. Donezo. But maybe humanity has an important role within a greater whole. Maybe humanity is itself a part within a much greater whole of the universe, of the development of mind, consciousness to know itself as self. Through the dialectic and logos, maybe that's significant. Maybe humanity has, in our development, in our discovery of the dialectic and the logos, because of the strange, perhaps unique situations we find ourselves in as a barbaric species, maybe that's significant for the whole cosmos and beyond. And therefore we're worth saving. In which case, this is how we do it. So face the puzzle and conclude and about the meaning And the more that you conclude about the meaning, the more your distortions, your false memories of the past are reduced. So again, that sounds like division. From the division, look for keys and themes. See if you can unify it. How do you unify it? Find a puzzle. Well, that's just the beginning. How do you actually conclude? Well, that's the conclusion. That's the meaning of those ideas and themes. So therefore, from all of those, we're looking for a synthesis. What brings all of that together into a oneness, which then we can then take back to the original definition, which was the definition was deed, the state of mind. So can we unify all of the ideas and themes about how that state of mind functioned through our past, and especially seems to reflect or relate to our family roles? From all of that, can we come to a conclusion that we can take back to that original state of mind we started with to understand it better? That's synthesis and analysis. We're looking for that in G. Also, because the hypothesis that we're playing with is that synthesis conclusion is also a new level of self-reflection. So it's a leveling up to the new category, the new stage, which would mean it would be the conclusion of this stage, the last of the four of the dialectic of this stage, but the first of the next, because of the principle of hyparxis. That's how come we can evolve. That's how come we can grow. Neat? What do you say?
He better not.
I better.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting
Stop
a
telling me I'm a
spanking right now.
bad girl, Emma, today. Jesus, today Emma's just been in a violent mood.
Can't you just engage with anything in a way that's like meaningful ever? It's just boring, I think, is the problem. I'm just bored
Emma,
of it.
we're bored of you spanking me every day, Emma. Bored of it. So that's a hypothesis. We're looking for something that unifies what we've just explored in the division. We're looking for a new sort of self-reflection or ousia that would indicate a development or a mini evolution or personal development, spiritual or philosophical growth, and also a new definition for the next stage of midwifery. Looking for all that in the next one, in G. Let's put our adventurer's cap on.
I'm looking for someone to share
Look,
in
Farrell
an
and
adventure.
Badger. Stay a while and listen. As their distortions are reduced, new ways of perceiving the past become apparent. Okay, seems a bit of a fucking cop-out. We knew it would be a new way of perceiving. That's what we just said. That's what ousia is, a new way of perceiving. And it would be a new way of perceiving our past, free of distortions, or diminished distortions. But we also saw that we didn't get the actual answer last time here. We had to wait until we read on a little bit. Last time we left it on a cliffhanger, but I want to read on a little bit and see if we can discover what that new ousia is and that new definition is, that synthesis. What is it that unifies the functioning of the state of mind all the way through our past to our origins, to our family roles? Let's see if we can see it. So a new way of perceiving the past becomes apparent. Next, connections between the similarities of the past and present scene can now be made. And they can be explored for their possible meaning. So the second category is the demonstration through our past, the state of mind functioning through our past. But it sounds like this third stage of the dialectic is the connection between past and present. I don't know. The connection between the similarities of the past and present scenes can now be made, and they can be explored for their meaning. Okay. These meanings can now be seen as solutions or hypotheses that account for the failure to achieve excellence, as the individuals are urged to authenticate such hypotheses in their experience as they pursue their goals. So here we're doing something. See, before it was first category, define the problem, demonstration of the problem, larger division or context or examples of your problem. Unify that to a state of mind. This is all understanding stuff. A problem functions as a state of mind, demonstrates itself as a state of mind. So we could say the whole first section is a definition of the problem. The whole second section is that how do your problems function? Through your states of mind, through your entire life. Division will be G, H, I, and J. What's the broader context of that state of mind functioning through your... No, it's different. We've leveled up. We've seen that we have a problem that we didn't understand. So we're not actually, this isn't actually understanding. This isn't actually just understanding. This is us. The person is changing. This definition, yes, technically it's a definition of the problem, so it's understanding, but no, it's not. They are realizing that they are ignorant in the best kind of way, the best kind of ignorance. I don't know my problem. I was wrong about my problem. I don't know. I don't understand yet. That's why I have a problem. That's the definition. You have a problem, and I've just realized I'm ignorant of it. Demonstration. What caused the ignorance? A certain state of mind. Oh, by the way, functioning right now, doesn't it? In this talk right now, isn't it? They are reflecting. First of all, they realize they don't know. Now they realize that they need to be aware of their state of mind. So this whole next category of the dialectic, within understanding, you could say, yeah, it's the functioning of that problem you've just better defined. But no, it's a person. The person is different. They're aware of their state of mind. They're aware that they've got a rational past. There is a rationality to their problems. There is a map that they can trace back. It is solvable. What do you do with this new realization that you didn't know before, but now you are more reflecting on your state of mind and how it functions as a role that you play out unknowingly reflect a role from your family, your whole life. You use the intense state of mind to bring you back to those key points in your past to realize that you've just been playing out a script. What do you do now that you realize you didn't know your problem, and but your problem functions as a state of mind that ties you to a script your whole life? What do you do with that as a person? What's the implications or the context, the broader implications of that, the division of that? Well, maybe now that you realize that, you can go out and do stuff you couldn't do before. It's the person is now a division. The person is going through these stages. It's self-reflection. They are growing. They are evolving. So the division would be the larger context of their insight, the larger context of their growth, their usia development. Meaning, G, H, I, and J will be testing the meanings as solutions or hypotheses that account for the failure to achieve excellence. There's our standard. And the individual are urged to authenticate such hypothesis in their experience as they pursue their goals. Get out and do it now. You realize you didn't know before. You thought you knew, but you didn't. You've seen your problem actually demonstrates as a state of mind tied to a role through your past linked to a family role. Now go out and do something with it. Divide. Context. Other to other. A new way of functioning has evolved. Now, what's the definition of this new way of functioning? Well, the definition is now you can see better. The definition of the division stage, the thing that heads the captain, the origin of this new way of functioning is based on a new way of seeing. You are less distortions, less projections, less blind spots. All that stuff we can see more easily in others when they don't realize that they're arrogant, or they don't realize that they're fascists, or they don't realize they're racist, or Joe Rogan doesn't realize he's a right-wing fascist propagandist. He doesn't realize it. He's blind to it. Achilles didn't realize that he thought he was the greatest, but everyone thought he was the worst. And he was. But if you can see with less of those distortions, because you've seen that you didn't know, you weren't so great, Achilles. You didn't know everything, Achilles. Definition, the first three. By the way, now you have a better understanding of how your problems demonstrate state of mind through your past, through roles, linked to family roles. Now you have a new way of seeing with less distortions. What are you going to do with that? How is it going to demonstrate? How is that new way of seeing going to demonstrate for the individual? They can make connections now. They can start to piece the puzzle together. They can start to figure out their problem that we are literally all here to solve. The Great Turducken. All right, so that's how that new way of seeing functions, demonstration. Well, what are we going to do with that function? That's how it functions, self to others. How are we going to use that function to other others? That's division, other to other. Self to self is definition. Self to others, demonstration. Others to others. That demonstration to other others. So what are you going to do with this new ability to make connections between the past and present that you weren't able to before because you were blocked or distorted or you were projecting? What are you going to do with that ability to make connections and solve puzzles of your life? What are you going to do with it? Reach your most meaningful goals. Get that excellence you were never able to get before. Do it. Achieve. Test your understanding. By the way, these are hypotheses. You don't know. It's a theory. If it's the case that X, Y, and Z, if it's the case that it's been a state of mind, if it's the case that's been a state of mind that has a history through my whole past, that is a manifestation of family roles that can be traced all the way back to the past, that plays out in my present, even in this talk itself. If that's the case, then if it's the case, then this is a better understanding of my present problems and my past causes. I better test that. I should be more able to recognize problems or achieve goals that I wasn't able to achieve before. That's the division of the division section. We're gonna do two sections at once because this is getting exciting. I'm gonna finish this one off. Let's see. So therefore, we're looking for a way of, in our pursuit of our meaningful goals, We're looking for something that can unify all of those new ability to reach our goals. That can be understood as a new way of seeing yourself, reflecting on yourself, a new Usia that will also be the captain of the next level of being, the next category of the dialectic, the definition of the next stage. So we're looking for unity of what we just saw of the parts in seeking our goals. That represents a new Usia, self-reflection. That can be the definition of the next stage. J. It now begins to be an important part of nearly every talk for the subject to ponder why they accepted and believe this self-image. Well, that's not pleasant. What do you think of that sound drop?
Can't you just engage with any?
Okay, you always say that. My fault. I gotta fix my. So behind, as you try and reach your most meaningful goals, you might notice, hey, that old state of mind with that history through my past, linked to my family roles that I'm now understanding before didn't see before, is linked to a self-image that I can't simultaneously keep if I want to also be doing my most meaningful goals with excellence. What an interesting thing to discover, that you're not what you thought you were. And what you thought you were is literally that which unifies your whole fucking life problems all through your past. What you thought you were. And you're not it. Not at all. Much, 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 much more profound. Which is great, because you need to have that level of profundity to be able to share in the most meaningful goals in the most excellent way. It's a good thing that you're letting go of what's false. It now begins to become an important part of nearly every talk for the subject to wonder why they accepted and believed this self-image. By their own reflections, they are brought to see that a false belief about themselves, so maybe that's the unity? Interesting. Maybe the two are connected? A false belief about themselves influences them and can even be said to mold them, some way. And it is this that also shapes their way of anticipating reality. This is a big definition. We've got a self-image, that we've got a new definition that unifies your life problems tied to a self-image. It's tied to a false belief about yourself. It's tied to that which, it's the zombie virus. It's the thing that keeps you stuck in the NPC script. So it's a molding thing. It's an image thing. It's a belief thing. And it also shapes your reality. 4 things. Sounds like we could probably arrange those 4 things into a dialectic itself. So J, nearly every talk, so still having lots of talks, you are wondering why, and you're seeing 4 stages of functioning. So it seems like this new level of reflection has awakened you to do what? understand your problems as 4 things through many, many talks, surfacing the material, wondering about 4 specific elements of your problems. What kind of ousia is that? It's not just the first category, reflecting on yourself, realizing you were wrong about what causes your problems, awakening to what you were ignorant to. It's not the second level, realizing that there's a state of mind functioning through your past and present. It's not the third level, where you can test that new way of seeing to be able to function in a higher way to your other goals. This fourth and final category seems to be a specific kind of activity, a specific kind of goal, not pursuing the other goals you used to have. You're doing something even differenter and, following the theory, betterer than those previous goals you were formerly blocked to, that you can now reach with excellence. Now you are in the fourth and final stage. You are addressing the cause of your problems in a certain way that have surfaced. 1, self-image. 2, false belief. 3, molding you. And 4, anticipating your level of reality. What do you know that has 4 stages or elements or categories to it? Because now you're doing that to your problem. On that note, thank you so much for joining me. We tackled 2 categories today. 1 more to go for next time. Where are we going to go from there? Oh, it's exciting stuff. Llama is excited. Stuffy is excited here. Even Baby Chicken is excited. We're all super excited. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're excited. I hope you're wondering about something. I hope you're doing this and sharing this with who you care about in your life, and you're encouraging yourself each other to go through this process. I really hope you do. And if you do, share your insights, your understanding, your successes, and even your failures with us together in the Discord if you want to. There should be a link below. It's all free and all that. Once again, feel free to like and subscribe on YouTube. You can follow on Twitch. You get a notification on Discord when we go live. Thank you once again for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Where's my sound drop? Oh my goodness. I'll see you in the next one. There we go. We're away.